How y'all doing? Welcome to the Black and Gold Hour podcast. This is your host, Merv. And if you guys have been here before, then you know that this is a Saints podcast for Saints fans by a Saints fan. I'm happy you guys are here today. We seem to be in happy spirits. The Saints were able to pull off a 27-24 victory over the Carolina Panthers. Teddy Bridgewater came back to the Superdome, but we were able to get the win. But this win was kind of like last Monday night's win against the Los Angeles Chargers. It was a win that kind of it's always good to get the W, but it feels like there are things that we're leaving on the field. There are causes for concern that will later plague us down the road if we don't get them fixed. So to help me break down this game and what we saw on the field, I got my boy, a Louisiana boy, Dylan Hebert, host of Downtown Saints, part of the Downtown Sports Network, and also 15-year season ticket holder. So he loves Saints and he talks Saints just like I do. So Mr. Aber, I'm happy to have you here.
All right, man. Exactly, man. 15 years been going. It would have been 16 this year, but with the whole COVID pandemic, that kind of changed things. So hopefully next year things are better, and we'll be able to continue our little run.
Man. I know there was 3,000 fans in the building, and my only hope was, man, just bring the loudest 3,000 fans as possible. Like it's nothing like being in the dome, man. And I know you're gonna get back to it as soon as the season starts next year.
Oh yeah, that's for sure, man. Oh yeah.
So okay, so you watch the game and we follow each other on Twitter, and we see Saints fans. We're kind of up and down. One minute we're having positive tweets, we're shouting out players. The next minute we're kind of ready to just everybody's under fire right now. So but the offense was able to be very efficient. At one point in the fourth quarter, that they were 11 for 12 on third down, and like we said before the show, earlier in the season, seems like the offense was what was being the major talk of concern, but now it seems like the offense is getting in stride. And with Michael Thomas out and Sanders out, it was kind of one of those things where we were like, what's going to be of the offense this week? But they were able to show efficiency and get down the field at will, basically. Alvin Kamara showed out. So what was your opinion on the offense this week?
The offense looked explosive. They really did. Aside from the Lions game, the Chargers game, they actually looked really good. Drew putting up good numbers. And of course, like you mentioned, Alvin Kamara, he's unbelievable. He's an unbelievable player who can just get the ball and can turn a 5-yard gain into a 20-something yard gain. So, and leaning towards the offense, Michael Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders not active. So we had to lean on different guys. And Marquez Callaway, he absolutely stepped up to the plate today and looked great. So the offense is not the issue right now. They're playing good football, and going into Chicago next week, I'm hoping they can continue their explosive play.
Right. And it's crazy because the play calling was what was being talked about. A lot of Sean Payton, a lot of Drew Brees' decision making, but it seems like everything was clicking on all cylinders today. And I think I also have to shout out Marquez Callaway as well. It's not often that we find a receiver that so quickly, fits into the role, especially with the Saints. We haven't seen the receiver kind of click this fast, getting on the field in a long time. So I'm impressed with him. Unfortunately, I think he got his ankle rolled up. So I don't know the injury diagnosis and the severity of it just yet, but hopefully he can come out and play against the Bears and everything like that. But let's flip to the important side of the ball for this week's game. Earlier in the season, it was the offense, and the defense was kind of, the big brother helping the offense out. But now it seems like the defense is really holding this team back. We're in, scoring bouts, seems every week at this point. What do you see in the defense that needs improvement? And I know there was conversation on Twitter and all over kind of Who Dat Nation. Is it Dennis Allen? Is it players? What's your opinion on the defense?
Yeah, right now, there's only a certain amount of things you can really point out about Dennis Allen. The play calling might not be as good, but the players also need to execute well with tackling, which has been, kind of something I've seen that hasn't been that great. The pass rush, Cam Jordan always, talks a lot on Twitter and everything, but he's not showing up in games. And lately, I've been seeing Trey Hendrickson be such a good asset to the defense. But today, the pass rush wasn't that good. But the pass rush came, whenever we needed it, and right at the end, and it set the Panthers up for seemed like an impossible 65-yard field goal, which would have been good from 64 because
Right,
it was just inches off.
right.
So, but the secondary is something that my co-host Devin and I have been calling out lately. We've been calling out Marshawn Lattimore, who actually had a really good game today. I believe I
Hmm.
read earlier he only gave up, I think, 2 for 15 today, which is something very surprising because he hasn't been really playing up to par lately.
No.
But the one I can call out today is, by no surprise, Marcus Williams.
Mm.
He blew the coverage today on that 74-yarder because it was his guy to watch. And I'm trying to think who got it. It was DJ Moore that got it, and it was 74 yards, but it was blown coverage because I think Lattimore was on him, and Lattimore and Marcus Williams, and they both got shifted, and they lost their man,
Correct.
which led him to being wide open. And Marcus Williams has been that kind of liability all season long. I think ever since that game in Minnesota, the playoff game we all know about, the miracle that his play has been off since, because I think he had a great rookie year leading up to that missed tackle, which led the Vikings to win that game. But last year he was graded at one of the best safeties in the league, and I'm not seeing that because his tackling is very poor, and this season his coverage is as poor as his tackling was last season. So the defense, I think they need improvement everywhere. The pass rush ain't there, and the secondary needs help. But right now, you can't really talk about benching, Williams or Jenkins, because who are you going to put in right now? Because
Right,
C.J. Gardner-Johnson ain't playing up to par, and you can't really bench anybody because you don't have that backup help.
right,
Because you do have P.J. Williams that you can slide into that safety position, or you have DJ Swearinger, but I don't trust them more than I do, what we got now.
right.
So, so right now, you just need that improvement. You can't take them out. You just need that improvement.
And I was talking during the game, and it's very easy for fans, and we develop a love for the players to defend the players first, call for Dennis Allen's head. But based on the play calling and even the commentators, the play calling was there. You just got to make the plays, and it seems like a lot of the issues that plague the Saints, not so much a bad play call. If you always go back on the replay, it's either not turning your head, um, a lapse in the zone coverage. It's always something that's mental, and it gets me to wondering. We
Yeah.
have all of this first and second round talent, but and it kind of like, remember Bill Belichick used to have like a test for his secondary, like just to see who was a smart player. It seems like we have talent, but they don't make the smart decision on the field. I mean, and that's going to have to change. I mean, we can't get into these scoring bouts with different teams. We have the talent, like I said. We just need to make this smart play. CJ Gardner Johnson had a bad game today, being switched on to Robbie Anderson so many times. He's very good against our team's wide receiver number 3, but against a quality receiver in the league, he's going to struggle, obviously. So I just want to see the team get better. I think Dennis Allen didn't have a terrible game as far as play calling. I just think the team has to do better. And when it comes to Marcus Williams, he's the if there was like an illustration for our secondary, he would be the illustration. He'll play great for extended amounts of time, but then that one play that you need him, He's nowhere on the screen, literally nowhere on the
Yeah.
screen. So it's one of those things where I think everything it starts here, and I don't know if that means them doing more homework. A lot of the Saints players on social media, less on social media, and more in the playbook. I don't know what it is about the defense, but this game was giving me playoff flashbacks of the 49ers game, where that was just going back and forth, and we know how that ended. So I just think right now I would hang on to Dennis Allen a lot longer, because he's not like a superb defensive coordinator, but he's adequate, and I think he can get the job done for this team.
Yeah.
But if there was anyone on the defense that you thought played well, who was it?
This is somebody I kind of highlight every single game. I feel like he always has good games, and that would be Demario Davis. Demario is probably, like somebody said on Fox Today, one of the commentators, he's probably one of the most underrated linebackers in the league, because they don't really compare him to those, top linebackers. The names never talked about. And he's always making big plays in the game, and it's never ever talked about. So Demario Davis is probably maybe the only person I can highlight as a positive player on that defense today. Really, nobody else, and they didn't play that great. So maybe hopefully in Chicago next week I can see that improvement. But Demario is always that guy that I will highlight as probably one of the best on defense.
And I think with Demario, he's one of those players that like he does everything so well, we forget. Like it's like a basketball player that LeBron has a triple double every game. It's one of those things where we just think that's normal. We just think that his play is just normal. So Demario
Yeah.
Davis, Demario Davis is probably the player that I would say as well. It wasn't too much to boast about on the defensive end this week. Defensive line played hard, but Teddy did have a lot of time in the pocket today. But they were able to make a critical stop that basically sealed the game for us. With the addition of Antonio Brown on the Bucks, do you think there's anything the Saints can do in free agency? Are you asking them to do anything in free agency, or are you not even worried about the Bucks? Like, what's your opinion right now as far as the Saints and Bucks and the NFC South?
Well, on the Antonio Brown side of things, I don't know who's going to cover him. I don't know, maybe Jackrabbit, maybe he'll cover him. But I know Marshawn's guy as Mike Evans.
Right.
Because week one, you saw him completely shut him down.
Right.
So right now, I would think the guy to cover for Janoris Jenkins is Antonio Brown. And that makes me wonder who's going to cover Chris Godwin. And they have those weapons, and they're going to be very dangerous. But the thing is, I'm kind of happy the Saints didn't go after Antonio Brown. They did. But it's like he's doing all this for show, because I know Sean Payton had told him, don't try to make a fool out of yourself. And he brings a whole camera crew with himself.
Right.
So he's making it all about himself. But I know Jay Glazer of Fox today reported that Bruce Arians did tell him to be a team player or just be gone. So he's not going to put up with that. There's a lot of coaches who won't put up with that, but I know Bruce Arians will not be the coach to mess with. So if he can, keep himself together, I think the Buccaneers will be extremely dangerous going forward. I know I saw they were in a tight one with the Raiders right now, but the addition to Antonio Brown is going to be very dangerous, and I don't know how we're going to, piece together that defense to stop that really explosive offense that they have. But in free agency, I don't really see that person right now that we can add. I know there's a name being talked about, Earl Thomas, but Earl Thomas is that same cancer in the locker room that Antonio Brown would be. So I just don't see Earl Thomas mixing in with our guys on defense without some type of trouble being started. I know earlier, this year, a couple of weeks ago, I know Michael Thomas got into it with CJ. So just imagine if Earl comes in, what's the issue is going to happen with them. So
Yeah.
I can't see it happening. I can't. But so I don't see any free agent moves going forward to stop the Buccaneers. I just think we just go with what we have now. Hopefully, it can be the same outcome as week one when the Saints get a W.
Exactly. And I'm thinking when it comes to the Buccaneers and it comes to Marshawn Lattimore specifically, he's always better against a bigger receiver. shifty, extremely good route running guys, Antonio Brown, Stephon Diggs, maybe like an Adam Thielen, they seem to give him trouble. So what I would do is, like you said, leave him on Mike Evans. That's his guy. But who's gonna guard Antonio Brown? And Chris Godwin is a number one on any other team. So it's or very close to a number one on any other team. What I would say is it kind of gives me flashbacks to the Steelers game versus the Saints, that big game as far as playoff seeding goes, and what Antonio Brown was able to do against the Saints defense. That was rough. But I will say this. I think the Saints defensive line is going to be able to carry them. Hopefully, if they can get to Tom Brady early, then maybe we'll be able to make some plays. Offense, it seems to be clicking right now, and I know how you mentioned Antonio Brown kind of being like a diva, and Earl Thomas being a diva on the defensive side of the ball. There's reports coming out about Mike Thomas, and I want to know what you make of it. Is it Michael Thomas being a diva, or is it the media making things bigger than it needs to be? What do you see it being a problem down the line? Kind of what's your opinion?
The media makes things worse than everything what it should be. The
Mm-hmm.
media always wants to be that first one to report a story whenever it's not even true. Because I remember I saw yesterday, I forgot who reported it, but they were saying a lot of insiders believe that Michael Thomas is on the trade block. And we just gave him a huge contract, and he's already on the trade block. And I saw Sean Payton. They replied that the insiders are, basically the outsiders.
Correct.
So that was pretty funny. I thought Sean Payton, kind of throwing shade at the insiders, but no, they're not going to trade him. There's no way that you would trade your star receiver at all. It doesn't matter what's going on in the locker room. I believe things can be hashed out. But no, I don't think he's going anywhere. I think a lot of the things going on is the media just trying to be the first ones to get something going. It doesn't matter how true or if it's not true, they just want to be that first person on it. But I think things will kind of get back to normal with the Saints locker room. I think Michael Thomas is going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
Dealing with that hamstring injury right now, kind of coming off his suspension. So I think things will finally get back to normal. Getting him, Sanders, and Callaway working together, that can be a very, very dangerous type offense.
Right.
So hopefully the Saints can be that team to make that run in the NFC South and not like the Bucks or the Panthers. So hopefully it's us making that run and not them.
So this is kind of like how I want to wrap up the questioning. So before we started, we talked about how the expectations were so high for this team. And I think that kind of is what makes us fans go crazy. It's the expectation that we have for this unit is so high. The expectations that we have for this defense. I don't know about you personally, but I thought the defense would be the unit that carried the team this season, honestly. So with what you've seen so far from the Saints and what you see from the Bucks and around the league, where do you think the Saints stand right now? Are the Saints a good team? Are the Saints an NFC contender? Are they a bad team right now? What's your opinion on the state of the Saints?
I think they're a good team, not that great team that you've seen in like the last two seasons. 2 years ago with the Rams no call, which I was in attendance for, which was one of the most heartbreaking things I've ever witnessed. And it was probably the longest drive home I ever witnessed. I want to talk to each other in the car. It was very quiet, and no one didn't know what to make of it. And then last season, the Vikings game, the last the one in overtime, the touchdown, that just hurt. I mean, but those two teams, those years are better than what we're seeing right now. So they are a good team. They're not that great team that you've been seeing the last couple of years. As far as NFC contenders, I don't know. Because you're looking at the Buccaneers, who are playing really good football. Then you have Green Bay, who got embarrassed last week against Tampa Bay. But now they destroyed the Texans. And granted, the Texans do only have one win this year. So it's not really impressive. But I got to look at other teams that are on the rise right now, as like the 49ers, who are destroying the Patriots right now, the Cardinals, who I think are a very good football team, and then the Seahawks. The Seahawks are
Of course.
probably the top contender I have in the NFC right now. So when you look at all those teams, it's kind of hard to make the Saints a favorite right now in the NFC, because you're looking even the Rams, even the Bears. The Bears are playing good football, and that's with Nick Foles, their backup, playing. So I mean, it's kind of hard right now because you don't know, who and like the real contender is right now, other than like that Seahawks team, the Packers,
Mhm.
and even the Bucks. The Bucks being a rival and one who I don't want to give that credit. But whenever they're playing as good as they are, you got to give that credit where it's due.
Correct.
So of course I'm gonna give them the credit, and they're playing really good football. So I don't know. The Saints need to show me a little bit more to give them that title as a contender.
Right. And it kind of, the defense right now is alarming to me because it kind of takes me back to the 7 and 9 seasons. The Drew Brees and the offense would literally put the game on their back and score 30, 40 points. And it was never enough because when you can't get the other team off the field, it doesn't really matter. I know you talked about the Minnesota Miracle as well as the no flag. For me, the most heartbreaking loss as a Saints fan ever for me is the loss to the 49ers because I just knew that team was Jimmy Graham, Darren Sproles. I just knew that team was going to win the Super Bowl if we could have played the Giants, I want to say, in the next round. Yeah, the Giants in the Superdome.
Yeah, the
So
Giants. Yeah,
I just knew. I was like, if we can get past this game, and it just seems like the defense could not help the offenses at all during that game, and eventually Vernon Davis, we know what happened. So I believe that it's good to be optimistic as a fan, but right now we're seeing some things on the defensive side of the ball that need to get fixed early. If you consider this early, or at least by the time that we get close to postseason action, before we can go into the playoffs confident in this team, because teams are going to get better in the playoffs. They're going to know our offense a little bit better. They're going to have extra time to study, and we're going to need our help on the defensive end. And I think we have the players to do it. I think they just got to get locked in. But I want to thank you for coming on the show, man. I really appreciate it, man.
oh
Really,
yeah, man. I appreciate you for having me. It's been a great time, man.
no problem. I love talking Saints, and I see you on Twitter, so I see your
Oh,
insight, and I know you got the knowledge here, man. But can you tell us where we
oh
can
yeah.
listen to Downtown Saints? I've heard it, but where can listeners hear it?
Yeah, for right now, we're only on Apple Podcasts right now. You just got to type in Downtown Saints Podcast. We're the first ones on there. If by some chance that you can't find it, just type in Downtown Sports Network, and we should be on there along with all the other NFL teams that do have a podcast. You can also follow us on Twitter at Downtown Saints, and you can follow me at Dylan J. Aber 12. Like the most time I'm active on Twitter is on Sundays and sometimes Mondays when we do have a Monday nighter.
Hmm.
And my tweets are very, very bipolar. They go from it being great, all of a sudden I am furious. There are times, I think during the Raiders game, where I think I said at one point just to leave Dennis Allen at the stadium and don't let him come home. There's everything, man. Like some of my tweets will be very explosive, but at the end of the day, I do, give the Saints the credit, even though if they win or lose, I do always say it's a good game for them. I'll always give the other team credit if they do beat us. And even when they don't beat us, I gave the Chargers. I think the Chargers were the team I gave the most credit to this season because they are better than what their record shows. And I gave them that credit, and I think they're a good football team. And it was good to see Teddy Bridgewater play today. And it was in a Panthers uniform. I didn't like to see that too much, but man, he looked good. So it was that little moment where he came sit on the bench with Drew and Taysom. That was a pretty good moment. I like that because Teddy is always somebody I have that huge respect for, no matter who he plays for. So I think it looked good, but back to where I started at before I started my rambling. Of course,
No, you're good. You're good.
that's where you can listen to our podcast. We didn't do one this week. Um, but we are picking up things on Saturday. That's when we record on Saturdays. And if they don't drop Saturday night, they will be I don't know, they will be there early in the morning on Sundays. And you can hear me and Devin talk about a handful of topics. And we would always love to hear feedback if you agree with us, if you don't agree with us. And also on Twitter, if you don't agree with something I say, please let me know. I would love to hear that. And I would love to debate with people. I love talking football with people, no matter if it's Saints football, other football. I would love to debate. I love to debate with people. I love to interact with other people about football. So yeah, you can follow me on there. You can follow Downtown Saints, and you can also listen to us on Apple Podcasts. And I believe soon we'll be on Spotify when we get a couple more episodes out.
Cool. Check out Downtown Saints. I want to thank you, Dylan Hebert, for coming on the show today. As for the Black and Gold Hour podcast, we will be dropping merch soon. So if you want to support, please let us know. You can find us right now on Spotify and YouTube right now. We're going to get the Apple podcast back up and running. But other than that, we're going to be back on the Black and Gold Hour here with you guys to talk about the Saints and the Bears. I want to thank Mr. Hebert for coming on again. And thank you guys so much for listening. Stay safe. Pray for those Saints. Have a good day.